Hello and welcome to this video guide for my SRS low-life Auramancer. It is a fast-paced build designed for mapping that is as good for solo purposes as it is for group play. In this video I will go through one of the setups from the in-depth guide, and if you are interested in more details I highly recommend you to read through the guide found on the Path of Exile forums. The core idea of the build is to use auras to buff the summon raging spirits as much as possible. And to do this, the build utilizes 8 or 9 auras, depending on the setup, which is also why party members will usually love you. As I mentioned, this build is made for mapping, and it can do all current map mods without any problems, but you will need to bring a life flask for no region maps. While it is possible to kill the Shaper and Auramancer with this build, it isn't designed for those purposes. Thus, if you are looking for a build that focuses on farming these encounters, I can't honestly recommend this one. Instead, if you are interested in a fast and versatile mapping build that with investment and some practice can kill Shaper and Atziri in order to complete those challenges, then I can recommend this build for you. This is the gear I had on my character in the end of the 2.5 Breach League. And before anyone wonder, while Headhunter is best in slot for the build, it is certainly not a required item. The unique items the build uses are the United in Dream, Shavron's Vestment, Presence of Shayola, Shavron's Revelation, Witchfire Brew Flask, and the Headhunter, if you are lucky enough to afford it. If you can't afford United in Dream or Presence of Shayola, you can still use the non-upgraded counterparts Severed in Sleep and Eye of Shayola. If you are using this build as a starter, then you can use the Ephemeral Edge and Solaris Lorica up until the point where you can afford to replace them. The Shavron's Revelation Ring isn't a mandatory item, but its 3–4% continuous ES regen provides a lot of defense and quality of life. Among the rare items, we have the Hubris Circlet that has been crafted with a Screaming Essence of Loathing in order to get the 3% reduced mana reserved. If you can afford, you can also craft it with a Deafening Essence of Loathing instead, and you can free up a jewel slot that I will show you later. The desired Helmet Enchant is the 150% increased effectiveness to the buff granted by a Stone Golem. This enchant is vital for being able to spamcast SRS in extended boss fights on a 6-link setup when Vaal Clarity isn't up. Prior to the 6-link, you will do fine without it. Most of the time I've been using a crystal belt in the belt slot, but if you are not in need of the extra resistances that you can get from it, then Bated Breath is one of the best belts you can get, both for leveling and for late game, with a large ES increase and ES recharge rate. The rest of your items are made up of energy shield based items with as much ES as possible, in addition to resistances and some 40 to 50 dexterity. You will need the dexterity to be able to run high-level haste, grace, and Vaal haste. On this character I gain the required dexterity from the Headhunter, but normally I use the unset ring or gloves to cover it. You can also use rare jewels to get the required dexterity. In my 6-link I use the following, presented in order of importance: Summon Raging Spirits, Melee Splash, Minion Damage, Melee Physical Damage, Elemental Focus, and Calling Strike, or Empower level 4. If you don't have a level 4 Empower, stick with the Calling Strike. The level 4 Empower is the stronger choice for solo play, but if you are in a party where there isn't a color, then I go for Calling Strike, as it will be more powerful the more players you have in your party. In my boats I have Generosity linked with Hatred, Wrath, and Anger. It is important to make sure that you always have these auras linked with Generosity, as a big part of the damage comes from the increased effect that it provides. And as we are not attacking the targets with spells or attack ourselves, we don't benefit that much by not applying Generosity. In my gloves I have Increased Durations linked with Vaal Clarity, Vaal Discipline, and Vaal Haste. Vaal Clarity is the most important Vaal skill in our arsenal, due to the nature of blood magic and energy shield recharge. Every time you attack or cast a spell, you will normally interrupt the ES recharge, but for as long as Vaal Clarity is up, your spells will not cost anything, and thus you will not be interrupting the ES recharge by spending life while casting. In your weapon I use Shield Charge, linked with faster attacks, or if you prefer Walling Blades, then you can use that. In addition, I have Generosity in the sword, and the Generosity is used to increase the effect of the Envy aura that United in Dream has. It doesn't have to be linked with other gems as long as it's placed in a socket within the sword. The remaining gems doesn't need to be linked with each other, with the exception of Cast when damage taken and Immortal Call, so they can freely be placed in the remaining items. I do recommend to use the Unset Ring for a green or red gem, as it can be hard to get off colors on the other items. Note that the level 1 Clarity is used not for its mana regen, which we have no use of, but for the extra bonuses it gets from the Commander of Darkness Ascendancy point. Go for as many links as you can with the SRS. You can start using SRS from level 8, where you get Melee Splash by entering the lower prison. Among the auras, your first 4 auras should be Hatred, Purity of Elements, Discipline, and the level 1 Clarity. The Purity of Elements will later be replaced with the United in Dreams Envy aura, but it will serve you well while leveling, especially if you are starting the league with this build and doesn't already have a lot of leveling items. For the remaining gems, pick them up when you can and keep them on as high level as possible. If it is the start of the league, then I would level 6 SRS gems in my off sockets, and in time try to get the level 21 quality 20 gem. But if it is a bit into the league, you will most likely just buy a cheap level 20 quality 20 SRS gem when you reach level 70. Which flask you use is dependent on your taste and your movement skill. I use Shield Charge and a Quicksilver flask. Yet if you are using Whirling Blades, you have almost nothing to gain from a Quicksilver flask, and I would instead use a Silver flask. The Witchfire Bro is used as it provides a free course during use, and its 100% increased evasion rating and smoke cloud is great for defensives. For the remaining 3 flasks, I use a Jade flask, a Basalt flask, and a Granite flask. You should aim for the Experimenter's prefix on the flask for the increased duration, and have of staunching, heat, dousing, and curing as suffixes, so you can remove all the status ailments. For the bandits quests, just kill them all. The finished skill tree basically consists of ES nodes, minion nodes, aura nodes, increased duration, and jewel sockets. The choice of Ascendancy class is the Necromancer. Start off with picking up Mistress of Sacrifice as soon as you are able to safely complete the normal lab, as having Flesh Offering affect you will increase your leveling speed by quite a bit. In Cruel, go for Commander of Darkness, which makes our already powerful auras even better. Spirit Eater will be picked up in Merciless, followed by Beacon of Corruption in Evil Lab. While leveling, you start going up the Witch ES nodes and pick up Practical Application for the Strength and Dexterity. Then you go for Heart and Soul and the Minion nodes. After this, you go through Occultist Dominion and travel down the Scion part of the tree to get the increased duration nodes and the minion damage nodes. The Shaper node will also be of great use. Before traveling towards the top of the tree, pick up Quick Recovery, and then go for the Cruel Preparation Life nodes and Death Attunement minion nodes. Now you pick up Purity of Flesh and your first aura nodes. While leveling, I usually skip the single aura effect node in this cluster, but don't forget to pick it up later on. After Sovereignty, you should go for the Melding cluster and the Influence aura cluster. Continue down the tree and connect the left-hand side of the tree and the right-hand side through Foresight. This is in the preparation for a later respec into ES. Continue down past the Scion tree through Harrier, pick up Hide Killer if you need a life, and go through the evasion nodes in order to pick up exceptional performance. At this point you have the option to go Blood Magic and Low Life if you have either a Chevron's Vestment or a Solaris Lorica, and a decent amount of ES on your other items. If you are prepared to respec, then you need 16 respec points. Remove the Hide Killer, Heart and Soul, Cruel Preparation, Purity of Flesh, and Quick Recovery life clusters. Don't forget to remove the extra +10 int node at the top of the tree. Now remove the 2 nodes at Practical Application and the Occultist Dominion and the 2 plus 10 stat nodes to its left. If you need more dexterity, don't hesitate to pick up the plus 30 nodes. Just remember that you will get a lot of strength on your way to the blood magic nodes. Spend 15 points toward blood magic and mortal conviction, and spend the last point on arcane vision. In the next few levels, you should get the arcane focus ES nodes at the witch tree, and then go for the charisma aura node. Or, if you want, you can get these before respecing into low life. At this point, you will be around level 70, running around 6 auras, and you will already be quite powerful. The way here until level 90 will start by picking up the Essence Surge ES Recharge cluster at the top of the tree. It's a nice quality of life cluster, and it also increases how much ES you will recharge while activating Ball Discipline. From here on, you pick up the 2 remaining aura clusters, Leadership at the Science start, and the Champion of the Cause at the bottom of the tree. And you will also have 4 1-point jewel sockets to pick up, if you haven't already. If you level your character past 90, then I recommend forgoing additional jewel sockets, as it is the best way to increase damage in combination with survivability. If you crafted your helmet with a Screaming Essence of Loathing, then you will need the Conqueror's Efficiency for its 2% reduced mana reserved. If you crafted your helmet with a Deafening Essence of Loathing, then you can skip this jewel. For the remaining jewels, you can choose between a few unique jewels and rare ones. My recommendation is to use 1 Sacrificial Harvest and use rare ones for the remaining slots. In order to gain some extra energy shield, you can use the energy from within instead of a rare jewel. But if you are using the Presence of Chayula, I would recommend going for a rare jewel instead. As you can see, it isn't too much of a difference in the ES between the 2 jewels. On the rare jewels, you should be looking for energy shield and minion damage as prefixes in combination with any suffix that is of use for you, whether it is resistance, stats, cast speed, attack speed, or item rarity. It's up to you. I hope this video build guide has been interesting and of use for you. If you want to know more about the build, or have any questions, go to the guide thread on the forums and you will have a lot of information there, including a FAQ and some tips and tricks.